Steph. You probably play with more joy than anybody in the league. And if anybody's a close second, it's probably Ja. What do you see in him in that sense? And, like, what does it take to play with joy?
I mean, it's to each their own. What you get out of the game, what the game does for you. The excitement you create just going into a game not knowing what's going to happen, but with the right intentions and just enjoying yourself. Like the amount of work that goes into it, the day after day sacrifice that it takes to be great when it comes out on the floor. You know, there's a lot of ways to express it, but it's the most fun out there. So, I mean, I can't speak for him in terms of what that is, but you know, basketball is fun at its core. It's energetic, competitive. All the emotions kind of come out in different times. So I love it, and there's a consistency about that too. So highs, lows, practice, games doesn't matter. Just try to find something that excites you about the opportunity that you have every day.
Do you see some of yourself in him?
We all express it differently. I mean, it's definitely a excitement factor just watching him play, things he can do on the floor, you know, and the mannerisms and stuff that he expresses on the court. Like I love it all just because it shows again how much the game means to you, how competitive you are, and the appreciation for those moments out there on the floor because you know all the work that goes into it.
What'd you think of Rachel Heck wearing his jersey, though?
That was nice touch. Apparently, it wasn't planned, so I had to enjoy that moment and take the picture with her.
Steph, what does the small lineup need to do to sort of get back to being as effective as it was against Denver in Game 2 against Memphis? That lineup was outscored, I think, by 11. And the logical concerns about going small have been defense and rebounding. But Draymond was saying not just that lineup, but throughout the game, really the offense was what was sort of out of character a little bit. I'm curious what you think we will take.
Striking that balance, obviously against Denver, we were kind of gunslinging all around the court. Everybody was feeling it, and shots were going in all over the place. We were creating good offense, and when you create good offense, obviously you're scoring, but you're always keeping the defense set or your defense set and giving yourself a best chance to rebound and overcome some of the size differentials out there. These first two games, shots haven't fallen as much as we want them to, but a lot of that is because Memphis is athletic, kind of aggressive team on defense, but there are ways to kind of exploit that, and we just haven't done that consistently enough throughout the course of the game where, bad shots, a bad shot selection, the floor is unbalanced, you can't get back in transition. Obviously, live ball turnovers, I talked about it before the series, and we did a pretty good job in Game 1. We didn't in Game 2. Difference in a couple possessions. Where they're out in transition, and they're obviously extremely fast and athletic, and they can make you pay. Fourth quarter, I gave up 2 threes because I had 2 straight turnovers, and they come down and Zaire hits his 2 threes, and that changes the whole momentum of the game. So if we can just stay disciplined on offense about what shots we're trying to create, taking care of the ball, keeping things simple on that side, it helps everything, and we'll see how it plays out in terms of the numbers.
Steph, I wasn't there for my draft, and I got Kennedy Carter with my number 1 pick from WNBA fantasy draft. You think that was a good selection?
The fact that you selected somebody is a big step, big fella. So definitely, I probably would have went with Sabrina.
She wasn't available.
What pick did you have?
9.
Yeah. Okay.
Big year from Kennedy Carter. Come on. Out of curiosity, just say the game plan calls for more isolation. Having not done it a lot during the year, is that something? Is it easy to just flip the switch and say, all right, we need to go more ISO, and because you're in your 98th year, you just know how to do that?
Yeah, that's always the case. I mean, I don't know how much of a priority that'll be in terms of the shots we're trying to create, because looking at the film, I think we've been a little rushed because of their athleticism. We've been a little rushed thinking the first available shot is the best shot, and you don't make them work or use their aggressiveness and their speed against them. If it does slow down to a different pace and you need to go ISO and kind of pick and choose your spots, like you look around the league, there are obviously teams that probably do it a little bit more than we do. In the fourth quarter, it could be a good way to kind of keep things under control and know who's trying to get the shot and what matchup you want and all that type of stuff. But, to your point, that is just a feel thing of being aware, being assertive, taking control of whatever moment it is and saying, all right, we need to go at whoever and put the ball in whoever's hands that we want it. But I think right now it's more for us to focus on everything else and how we're creating shots throughout the course of the game to get us into a better rhythm, because, we need to obviously be much more efficient on that end of the floor.
Steph, thinking about just how different this roster has been constructed than the teams that went to the finals, when you've talked about all the strength training and work that you've done to get stronger, how much of that is a focus to this part of the year when you may be asked to do more defensively than you would have been asked during that 5 straight year run to the finals?
That wasn't the motivation, but it's part of just being ready for whatever you're asked to do. And like you said, how much more physical this time of year gets. If we do go small lineups, being able to guard a bunch of different guys, keep them out the paint, box out, and be able to rebound, even offensively, take physicality on that end of the floor and not let it affect you. So all that stuff goes into it. But that's more just a progression of me throughout my career, not so much a reaction to anything.
Steph, Ja handles the ball a lot. He controls a lot of their offense. And talking to Draymond a few minutes ago, he said the tone should not be trying to control Ja because he's going to get his. It should be controlling the other guys. Do you kind of feel the same way, or do you feel like you could do a better job when Ja starts going off, especially like in the second halves of games?
It's a little bit of both. Like, there's no one recipe you want to give because he is that talented, that quick, explosive. Obviously, he can finish at the rim all different type of ways. I think part of the game plan, he shot 23 threes, I think, in the first 2 games, probably more than he's ever shot in his career in back-to-back games. So you kind of understand what we're trying to do. When it comes out in the fourth quarter, you just want to make it difficult as much as possible. But it's crazy because you think about the way he's played the first 2 games at home. We had a 4-point lead with 3 minutes left. Like, I don't want anybody overreacting to, like, he's a superstar talent. He's, like you said, going to get his, and he has a ball in his hands a lot. He's got up 30-plus, field goal attempts every, the first 2 games. So there's going to be numbers, but it's how you get it. And then, obviously, in the fourth quarter, if you can make an adjustment or two to just make it a little bit more difficult, then that's the learning process going through a series. And we've been through this before and just got to execute on whatever that is. But it hurt when you lose a game like Game 2 at the end and feel like you could have got another one, come home 2-0. Like, it changes the vibe a little bit, but you got to remember where we are in this series. And even with his numbers, we still had a chance to win 2 straight games. So we just got to keep with the program and get better on offense and hopefully, take control of the series.
Steph, I believe this is the first time since your first year in the playoffs that you're in the postseason without Andre. What has that been like for you? Where do you miss him the most?
Just his composure, his IQ, the plays that I think everybody in this room knows that he makes, that either are highlighted or not. Just he's always in the right place, the right time, makes the right pass. Obviously, defensively, he gives us just leadership on that front. As, obviously with Draymond and just their presence. I think this year has been tough on him and the whole team, being in and out of the lineup and trying to be available first and foremost. With where he is in his career, like it's been a long year for him, back and forth, rehab and all that. And I think the hope is that come this time of year he would be, at his peak, and he hasn't had the opportunity to do that. So it's tough, but he's given us a lot in the locker room and on the bench in terms of his presence and his voice and leadership on that front. So would you rather have him on the court? But we'll see what happens moving forward.
And what about just for you and your game? Because he is such a playmaker, and you guys have been together for so long, and obviously the relationship on and off the court is so strong. How have you had to compensate not having him there at this time of the year?
I don't know if I compensate, but more so just it opens the playbook a little bit more. Just if he can be a secondary ball handler, and you can trust that he's going to make the right play, whether it's the pass to me, Clay, JP, whoever it is. That is a big loss on that front. You can look at film of years past, like you said, where he's at the top of the floor, he's making that backdoor pass. He's getting guys in the right flow and transition. He always seems to just make the right play. So another trustworthy guy with the ball in his hands. But unfortunately, you can't spend too much time worrying about what could have been, and hopefully if he is healthy and can get back out there. The good thing about him is doesn't need much transition time to make his presence felt, just the way that he plays and approaches the game. So we are banking on that, if he can get healthy in time.
Steph, you had a really going back an intriguing rookie environment with Jax and Monte, and I don't know how much mentoring you got that year, but when you think about your rookie season and opposed to a guy like Kuminga, do you feel like even with everything you got going on and off the court, do you try to go out of your way to spend time with him and get to know him, and how has he come along?
There's that part is tough. Just I don't know how much raw time we're spending together outside of the locker room and road trips and stuff like that. But more so, just the game that you can give him, just being around a good veteran, locker room that has a lot of experience of how to be a professional, how to approach every single day with the right intentions, what he needs to learn as quick as possible to take that next step. Even being in this situation, where you're in a playoff run, fresh out the gate, and you're getting a little bit of opportunity and getting that experience, all those things are going to be valuable for him if he takes the time to soak up as much information as possible. For me personally, always, able to tap him on the shoulder, let him know something that's on my mind, or point something out throughout the course of the year, and especially this time of year. So it'd be interesting to hear his perspective on, what he got from this year at the end of it when it's all said and done. Because everybody's journey is a little different. Like you said, he's in I would call it a better situation in terms of, being able to learn from the right type of people when it comes to this time of year and winning basketball and what it takes to get here.
Steph, thinking about Sunday being Mother's Day, do you still pay your mom for those turnovers? And does she still get on you for that?
The check stopped cashing a couple of years ago, but she still calls it out for sure. So thankfully she wasn't that game too, because I would have got an earful after the game. But think I've evolved outside of having to worry about a penalty for turnovers, more so just the embarrassment of getting a text from mom. Like, that's still on her radar.
You talked earlier about the offense and maybe not being sort of in character, or maybe taking a quicker shot than they should. How does that equation change with the series at home now? I mean, it's obvious you got home support, you got noise, but how does that atmosphere affect things like the offense?
Interesting thought, just in terms of like on the road, you're always like kind of going for the dagger shot, even if it's in the middle of the first quarter. Like it feels different just because you're always feeling like there's an opportunity to kind of put them down early. And even in the fourth quarter, like you do feel that anxiousness and that energy from the home crowd, and just momentum swings back and forth. You always want to, be the one that's doing something about it. Not saying you're playing hero ball, but you want to have, the opportunity to hit that big shot that, clinches a game on the road. At home, it's a little bit different just because there's so much adrenaline and energy, and every shot's like it dials up the atmosphere a little bit. So you got to kind of calm your body down, your mind down a little bit, so you're not moving 100 miles an hour. And rushing for a different reason just because you're so excited. And the home crowd's kind of behind you. So it takes another level of discipline for both situations, but for kind of different reasons.
Two questions, Steph. When was the last time you banked in a three?
That's a freaking great question. I don't know. That's why I didn't have a reaction, because I was kind of confused myself. That's what happened. It didn't feel like it was a bank, but when I went in, I was like, oh, that was.
Oh, you didn't try to bank it?
From the top of the key, I was about to say, you trying to give me all that credit? I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Is it fair to say you're like the mid-range is something you're going to more now, or like a safety blanket shot for you?
I mean, yes and no. Like, just trying to take what's there. I think we've gotten in trouble a couple times. You said I'm in my 98th year, still trying to float it above the rim and getting that joint beat up. Especially with that very athletic team, that their key is to help in the paint. And when you feel like you get in there, those lanes kind of close pretty quick. So you got to pick and choose. You still got to be aggressive to the rim. All your finishes and all that type of stuff. Aggressive to pass. To your point, if you can get down to past the first layer of the defense before the help side can come in, that mid-range can be open. But obviously still trying to get loose behind the three-point line is always a point of emphasis, because that loosens up. Even if I'm not getting a shot, that loosens up a lot of different options to, create advantages on the 4-on-3 on the backside and stuff like that. So it's still the three-layer type of approach, but you do have to make subtle adjustments based on the strengths of the defense and what they're going to give you, because they're playing aggressive, they're extreme help side and all that, and got to just get to space as much as possible.
Steph, how does it affect this game knowing Brooks is not playing? I mean, obviously he didn't play most of the last game, but knowing he's not going to be in there, and as many people have pointed out, he's been a primary defender on you. Knowing he's not going to be in this, how does that change the approach? How do you think it'll change the way the game unfolds, I guess?
Doesn't change it at all. Their defensive principles are the same. It's funny because Dylan wasn't out there, and Zaire comes in and hits 3 big threes in the second half. Against us, Melton's getting more minutes, so they have other wing defenders that can get out there and try to take on that challenge. Whether he's in there or not, my approach stays the same.
Hey, Steph.
Last question. Go ahead, Melissa.
I asked Dre this, and I'm curious to get your take as well. Obviously, nobody ever wants to miss the playoffs, but after 5 straight NBA Finals appearances and how incredibly tough that is, both mentally and physically, do you guys think that you needed that break in order to be at the level you guys are at right now? Could you have kept that up?
I always got to deal with reality as it comes, so it's hard to answer that question knowing we did everything in our power last year to try to get a playoff spot. In that last 20 games, trying to make a run. Year before was more injury hampered, so I couldn't really do anything about that. But do I feel like we could have stayed at that level? Absolutely, just because that's how we're built. Did the 2 years off remotivate us? Absolutely, because that's what the situation was, and we'll see where we are as a team, where our core is in terms of our careers. Like, we feel like we have a whole lot more left in the tank, and right now is an amazing opportunity for us, because each time you get here, you realize, one, how hard it is to get here, how hard it is to win, and the fact that there's a finite timeline to all of this in terms of trying to play at this level. So you got to appreciate it and enjoy it, and that's why we love what we do.